I was a combat engineer.
Oh.
Which means I ran around in little tanks and exploded things.
I did 6.5 years in the Navy.
Awesome.
And was injured in Afghanistan. So,
thank you very much for your service.
no, I appreciate that, sir. Thank
No,
you.
I was in when no one was really shooting at us. So.
He was like, I was the aftermath. I just kind of came in.
Doesn't matter. Time in is time in. Thank you.
What'd you do in the Navy?
I was an F-18 engine mechanic,
Okay.
and then I got, Navy stands for
What?
Never Again Volunteer. I fucking volunteered.
Nice.
And I ended up in Afghanistan for 8 months. So, but here I am.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
He's alive. Aren't we all?
Do you need to adjust this at all? You look a little uncomfortable.
Am I midget? You need to put this midget status. Is that okay? I don't want to mess anything up.
What do you want to lower it?
I was just going to lower it a little bit. Oh, this is so fancy. Okay, we're good. Yep, perfect. I'm a midget. I mean, I've accepted it.
What is that? Is that the broadcast we're on?
Well,
or is that your studio?
It's a Stigmata Studios is like the catch-all. It's for I do indie comic books, and the podcast just kind of goes along with some of the topics and stuff that go on in the comic books.
Okay.
So Stigmata Studios is the catch-all for that. The podcast is called the Abracast. Yeah.
When John and I talked on Facebook,
cool.
He was very well. I don't want to I don't want to tell how we first met.
No, do whatever.
But he did this beautiful painting, and I commented on it, and then he messaged me, and he basically just told me how much he appreciated me taking a moment and appreciating.
Well, I had one of those weird retrospective moments. I drew this thing almost 20 years ago on my drawing board, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, man, what the it looks sad. I can't remember being that sad in art school. I don't know what the fuck was going on. But yeah, I just had this weird. Yeah, right. Well, hey, this is my latest graphic novel. It came out. Yeah, if you want to check it out. Yeah.
That's awesome. I meet so many cool people on the internet.
Yeah, it's kind of what it's for.
Yeah, I know.
Your artwork.
Art. Yeah, I wrote it, drew it, said I did everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
You're kidding me.
No. Okay, are you ready?
I am.
Yeah, we're going to get into it.
Let's do this.
Now. All right.
Sit down and bleed. The surface crack, the skies are gray. We believe in everyone has a say. And in our heart, knife in our back. Never saw coming out of so fast.
In studio, we have Zosia West from Echoes Never Lie and a phantom. And a poltergeist is in the house. So, do you guys have a new album out today?
Not today, but we are going to be dropping it, I hope, in the next 2 weeks. We currently have a GoFundMe to help get the album out on the radio because we're not wealthy.
So if you go to GoFundMe and you could just search Echoes Never Lie and you'll be able to find your crowdfunding?
Yeah, please donate because I'm poor. And there's also tiers for the supporters that donate. So we're not complete jerks and we're like, thanks for your money. Peace out. We actually do things for people who donate. So
that's cool.
There's a lot of incentive for that. So thanks for the plug, John. I appreciate it.
What's the name of the album?
We haven't decided on a title yet.
Okay.
My mom came up with a title, but I don't know if it's going to fly. She wants it to be called Tattooed and Abused. But but I don't know if that's going to fly or not with the guys. So we still have to come up with something, but we will, and I will let you know.
Okay. How long has the band been together?
We've been together this coming February 4 years.
Oh, wow.
I've been married for 4 years.
To a band.
Yeah. Clearly. And it's been a pretty wild ride, and I hope to just keep plugging away,
Now, is there an interesting origin story, or is it
Craigslist?
Craigslist.
All magical stories are on Craigslist.
I have friends who are in a band that they're called Wings for Armor. You guys might have crossed paths.
I've played with them before.
Yeah, and that's how they met. That's how the two, Murph and Christy, met, was through Craigslist.
It's magical.
Yeah.
It's not just for casual encounters. You can actually meet
quality
people.
Yeah, I used to have them when I did book release parties back in the day. I used to have them play my book release parties.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
they're a great band.
They're awesome. They're phenomenal. They actually came down and did a podcast with me.
Oh wow!
A while ago, they brought me a bag full of goodies and their new CD
Aw.
and stuff. Yeah, it was really cool. I don't hang out with them enough. I should, but
You should, but you're in your basement a lot, so it's understandable.
yeah, right. So what's your how does the thing break down? Like, do you guys all write, or do you write the lyrics and someone else writes the music? Some kind of I don't have a musical bone in my body,
okay.
so I'm just kind of trying to figure it
No,
out.
I'd love to break it down for people because some people are like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I make noises with my mouth." Well, it's a combination between everybody, and I think that's what's really cool. Jason and I usually write the lyrics, and Jason, Mike, and John are kind of in charge of the music. Obviously, I write the melody because I sing it. Otherwise, that would be kind of... I'd probably be hitting notes that I couldn't.
What is this supposed to mean? You know?
What does this mean in language? But, yeah, it's a collaborative effort, and it's really cool. So, we definitely give each other artistic freedom, which I think... I hate to sound like an artist, but I mean, that's what we do.
So how would you describe your genre or whatever, like your type of...
We are hardcore punk emo script. No, I'm just kidding. I
was like, when is this ever going to end?
You're like, when does it stop? No, those bands that always like make these subgenres. I was trying to be cool, but clearly not. But like hard rock metal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to say because, like I said, there's like 1,500 genres now when you search iTunes, and I'm like, oh, what's horror punk subcore rock? I don't get this. But just to break it down, we're mainstream metal.
Okay. And who's your influences?
I love Evanescence.
Yeah. You can kind of tell. Yeah.
Not like in a weird way. In high school, I just wanted to be her.
Okay.
But when I started getting older, I realized copying probably wasn't the best way to go. So I wanted to create something for myself and become my own entity. But I also really love In This Moment.
In This Moment is awesome.
Oh my God! Yeah. Can I just go? Okay. I mean, and they're coming in a couple weeks.
Really?
To First Niagara.
Okay.
Yeah, and me and the Phantom are going.
You and the Phantom?
So I'm looking forward to them. I just think she's made a lot of positive headway for females in rock, and she's really stuck it to people. So I think that's really cool.
And the one last musical thing before we get rolling off into our topic is I'm a huge Mushroomhead fan.
Yes.
I was born and raised in Cleveland.
Were you? I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
I
no,
know,
I'm just
for real. Thanks.
I just had to say it for the Pittsburgh people.
And I saw that you were
teaming up.
Yeah, you guys were going to be doing something with them. Is it them or just?
It's just Waylon. Yeah, it's just Waylon. We're in the process of just trying to find the right track, seeing what's going to make sense for him and his style. It was a really weird how that opportunity happened. My friend Ralph, I'm going to plug him. Hi, Ralph. You're on the web page Skype thing. He tagged me on his page, and I'm like, why am I getting tagged? Did somebody die or something? So I go on there, and it was like, I'll sing on your band's record. And I'm like, yes, you will. Maybe. Yeah. Here's my stuff. And then he personally emailed us, which I will not be giving out his email address. Well, but but for you fan people out there, and he was just like, I'd like to work with you guys. And then I had a moment where I was like, and then I walked away. And
that's awesome.
It was really cool. Yeah. So we're just trying to find the right song. We're trying to, do things that make sense and also are going to, work for him and me, and that we sound good together. You know what I mean? That we can mesh vocally.
Well, that's the cool thing about Mushroomhead is they are used to dealing with two distinct
voices,
dynamic voices. Yeah.
And so many people are a fan of them, and they're like, "I love Mushroomhead." I'm like, "Yes, me too." I'm gonna try really hard not to nerd out when I talk to him. I'm gonna be like, "Hi, thanks for singing on my album." So yes, so we will be announcing more when I know, everybody else will know. So thanks for stalking me on social media. I really appreciate it. No, just kidding. kidding.
It was show prep, man.
Right, totally.
All right,
I get it.
How many albums you guys have?
We honestly just have one single. Well, we actually have a lot of albums. We just haven't really released them. This is the first time we actually worked with credible people. Our single Fade Away, we actually worked with Capitol Records. We're working with Matt Muckle, who was the drummer for Buck Cherry.
Okay.
He's producing our album, and Sean Hackle, he was the guitarist for Filter. So we actually have like credible people on our album. So it's a professional recording, and a lot of our stuff we just record in our basement. And unfortunately, with the way that the industry is, it's not really welcomed with open arms. So
yeah, well, I mean, the thing with the internet is that it lets anyone do anything. You know what I mean? But it's still like you have to still be good at it.
Yeah,
you know, in some way.
Well, and unfortunately, like to get signed anymore, you have to basically have everything done.
Well, and you have to have, like, I know for a fact, like, these fuckers, they sit there and they're like, oh, if you have less than, like, 3 million people.
We're not going to talk to you. Well, I'm like, yeah, well, I have 1,900 fans on Facebook, so there. Whatever.
You're like, you don't have 3 million people on your following you on Twitter. Like, we can't possibly, you know.
Look at you.
Yeah, right. You're just
and I had a conversation about that, and I'll get off my soapbox. Me and one of the guys from Alpha Gray, who I'm playing with tomorrow in West Virginia, we were just saying how the industry, it's just really not... there's talented people out there. I don't want people to get upset, but it's really not about talent anymore. It's about numbers, and it's so sad because there's so many talented people I know that don't get the opportunity to make it because they just don't have the cash flow.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. I think it's going to be the same thing with everything.
Sure.
Like, it's certainly with comics, and it's certainly with, you know... I travel in a circle of novelists and writers, and it's like everyone's got all the same kind of...
Gripes.
Yeah.
But that's where all your art comes from, is like the struggle.
Right, yeah.
And you're like, this is what makes me awesome. And then they're like, no, peon, you're poor. Go away. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for coming to my party.
So were you always interested in, like, the weird paranormal stuff? Or
yes.
Does it influence your music?
I wouldn't say necessarily it influenced my... Well, maybe it has, because it's definitely, like, growing up, it's influenced my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you and I talked a little bit on the computer, I have some stories that it definitely has, like, affected me today. And I know people are skeptics, but if you lived in my house, you wouldn't have been. So,
the house you still live in?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes. When I was growing up, I had some trauma in the home, and there was rumor that a woman passed away in my room. Go figure, that's the room that I grew up in, which probably explains a lot. But at night, my door would violently vibrate for years. Until the trauma in my household like finally subsided and the door stopped. But it affected me as a child. I had constant nightmares and couldn't go to bed and was always crying for my mom.
Oh man,
because there was like some evil demon thing in my room. You know,
her dog will still not go into her room.
Okay,
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was it like a closet door or the door to the?
No, the main door.
The main door to like the hallway,
which
or whatever?
is violently shake.
That's creepy.
It is creepy.
When I was a lad, I moved around a lot, and one of the rooms that I lived in, it was like one of those upstairs, like the top floor rooms where there's kind of like the attic, kind of like the crawl spaces were on either side of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a little access door, and it freaked me out. It never moved or like banged around, but I'm just like,
I don't like you.
I don't like that fucking door. I don't like it at all. There's just something about a door that leads to an empty room. It's just
bothers
weird.
you.
Yeah.
It's like the end all to every movie. You just know not to go in there.
I'm like, this is where they got the idea for that last scene in Blair Witch.
It's probably not where we want to go exploring, because you know we're those people in the movies like screaming at the people not to go in the room. I totally understand.
That's crazy. So we're going to be talking about. Well, you mentioned one of the things about poltergeists is that their ability to move things and to knock on stuff. So we're actually going to be talking about poltergeists tonight.
Yay!
Yeah. So do you know where the name comes from?
I don't.
It's a German name.
Oh,
it means,
sorry, I just had to.
it means noisy ghost.
Oh, okay.
German name for to make a sound or rumble is Poltein, and ghost or Geist is spirit or ghost. So they just kind of put it together. So you got a noisy ghost knocking on your doors and
Right?
shit.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate that.
So among all of the classifications of ghosts, these ghosts are known to be the most pains in the asses of the ghost world.
Yes.
They can bite, scratch, pinch, smack, I guess. They can move your furniture around. They can hold doors closed. They can open doors. They knock on doors, and they levitate things. A lot of kids get levitated around when you look into poltergeists.
I did not experience that, and thank God that I didn't.
Kids deserve levitation.
Says the Phantom. But, well, not to go completely off topic because I know you want to stay on track, but when
we go wherever.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just steer. When I was talking to Sean Kelly,
Yeah.
who you know, I was telling him my story and like in depthly about my experience as a child, and I was like, in this ghost, he's like, no. He's like, you had a poltergeist. I was
Okay.
like, did I? Is that what that thing was? That was traumatizing me for 8 years. So it's interesting that you mentioned all that because now it makes sense.
Well, now that you mention that, it's actually going to get a little bit weirder
Let's
as we
get
go
weird.
along. Whereas the normal, your run-of-the-mill, your garden variety ghost haunts a specific geographical location or an object. Poltergeists are known to haunt people. Like, they stick with people. So it really might not have had anything to do with your room.
Cool. I'm very excited. Could be with me right
What
now.
I'm saying is, I see something. I see a shadow person behind you
Do
right
you?
now. No,
Great. I can't wait. Where's your bathroom? But maybe that makes sense. Well, can I go off topic again?
Yeah. So don't ask permission. Just to fucking do it.
Hey, man, I
know.
I just want to be polite.
It is a podcast.
Thank you, Phantom. So
I'm going to add like reverb to whenever he gets on the mic. It's going to be like, whoa.
you should have like the scream effect. I just watched that today. But my great grandfather was kidnapped by the gypsies.
That happens a lot.
Apparently.
Actually, okay, hold on.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I have an anecdotal story to add.
That's
when
fine.
you're done,
And I guess from what my mother and my grandmother told me is they like put a spell on him, essentially like you're going to feel things. Well, fast forward, my mother always knows when people are going to die.
Okay.
Okay, so there's always weird things happening in my family. Like my grandmother sensed when people were going to pass away. She always had a sixth sense about things. Like it was just very eerie that she would even know things. I'm like, wait, I didn't tell you that. How do you know that? So I don't know if people are going to listen and be like, oh, that's a bunch of phooey, but whatever the gypsies did, it's been clearly passed on.
Yeah. So I had this guy named John Shulkowski. Do you know who he is? He runs a Facebook page called Weird, Odd, Mysterious Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And he like finds like weird shit that's gone down in town. And I had him over one time, and he like did a bunch of research about my neighborhood, and he came down and he was like, hey, like in the 20s or maybe the 10s, he was like, there was a band of gypsies that hid out in the woods, and they would come through my neighborhood and fucking steal babies out of these goddamn houses.
You're like, great.
I was like, fucking the gypsies? And he's like, yeah, dude, it was the gypsies. He was like, it's so official. The cops, the fucking chief of police and stuff at the time came down here, and they rappelled down the cliff, and they found the fucking caves that the goddamn gypsies were living in. Crazy.
I know. Who would think? Because people like sit here and dog on this town, but we had some serious scandal
dude,
going
we had some
on.
shit going on.
Welcome to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We steal babies.
I mean, not to get into like all the wild shit he said, but yeah, the gypsy story is fucking real.
And you're like, well, I'm glad that I moved here.
In my brain, all I can think about is like the mark of the werewolf, like the gypsies and the mark, like it's the mark of the wolf on a full moon and for the fucking pinnacle goes on the guy's hand when he's about to change. And I'm like, I know it's not like that at all. I know that's not what real gypsies are like.
But you
like,
want to believe it.
how did they fit the gigantic horses in their caboose like carriages down these streets? These streets aren't designed for that.
I'm gonna fucking cry.
Phantom's dying. It is. That is actually, I did not know that, so you taught me something, so thank you.
Yeah, that John Czerkowski is a wealth of knowledge. Like
Apparently.
He's a real fun guy, because it's like wherever you're at, he's like, hey, you know where we're standing right now?
There's
like,
a dead person.
Yeah, no, like he did that. He was like, if you go down to the point and you just dig far enough down, there's like 200 French soldiers still buried down there from the French and Indian War. And I was like, really? I watched the Violent Femmes down there for $5 during Ribfest one time.
I watched my neighbor's dog take a crap on that yard.
Like, seriously, so did that decrease your property value at all living here with that story? Or?
Well, not everyone knows about the gypsies.
Okay, well,
and I think they did a pretty good job getting the fucking gypsies away from here. We don't have
them out.
We don't have a gypsy infestation anymore.
Well, that's good, because that would be the worst, trying to sell your house to somebody and be like, well, by the way.
Like the realtor stops over, no one's home.
Right.
They're just like going through, and then like out in the bushes, there's a little lady in a veil, and she's like, it's the mark of the wolf.
By the way, don't go over the cliff. All the gypsies.
There's a gypsy caves. They're right down there.
They're right down there. Just don't go down there, but your kids will be fine. Happy hunting. God.
Get them in before the street lights go.
Like you can hear their loose beads and stuff rattling around.
When the street lights come on, that's when your kids go inside. I think he's going to die.
So the stories of poltergeist are basically, they're everywhere, all throughout history. Here in the United States and in most of America, in India, Japan, Brazil, Australia, all over Europe. You know, the gypsies have something to do with them.
Of course they do. Right. They ruin everything.
And there's some reports all the way back to the 1st century.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of history and stories behind these poltergeists. So,
and gypsies.
Yeah. It's funny that the gypsies keep coming up because...
Just change the theme to gypsies. Just forget everything else.
I don't want to spoil it. Okay. Okay, so besides the door rattling,
yes,
do you have any more poltergeists?
Yeah, absolutely.
Activities?
When we initially moved in, our dog started acting very strange. And they always say with any kind of like paranormal, it's always children and dogs. So, of course, I'm like 7 years old. And I started like witnessing things. But my dog, Muggsy, would like go in the middle of the floor and just start barking. Like at thin air. And here's me as a kid, I'm like, why are you barking? Quit being stupid.
Give me a ride.
Yeah. Ride me up the stairs. And she would stand there at all different parts of the night and just like bark into thin air. And then every night we would hear people running up and down the stairs. And I wish I had my mother here because she would back me up on this, because I tried to tell my extended family and they're like, you know, Western Psych is open. And I'm like, yes, I know, but I promise you this is happening. And my room was always the coldest room in the house. And I know that sounds very stereotypical, but it truly was. Nothing could ever make that room warm.
Well, I know that when you sent me the link to the YouTube when you and Sean Kelly with the Paranormal Society, the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society, or wherever you guys were at, I didn't pick up where you guys were investigating.
Connellsville Library.
But did they talk about the temperature change there?
He did a little bit off camera. But,
okay.
But obviously you notice, like, if you watch the YouTube, my jacket never came off. I was always, I'm always constantly cold, but, like, I was really cold.
Yeah.
Like, and I truly felt this little boy that's supposed to haunt it. He moved my bracelet.
Yeah.
And that was really freaky for me, because I went in as like a skeptic. I'm like, whatever, ghost, you're not going to do anything to me.
After your childhood stuff, you went into that as a skeptic?
I did, because when you start to tell people, and maybe you've encountered this too, they just look at you like you need to be committed. Like, you feel like you're back in the 1800s where they're like, that's cute, honey. here's the padded wagon to come get you. But you're like, no, really, there's some stuff that I can't explain that's going on in my house. Why?
Well, if you're lucky, it's the padded wagon. You
Right.
know, if you're not lucky, it's like, hey, help us start this campfire. It'll be great.
Or the gypsies come and get you and takes you in the cave.
You're obsessed with these gypsies.
I have to bring it back. We always have to bring everything full circle, John.
Circle back around. So, out of all the different kind of poltergeist symptoms, like the slapping and the biting and the throwing things around the room and all this kind of stuff, like there's been a lot of people that weigh in on possible explanations, trying to explain away these things, and they get a little on the wacky side, as we will soon find out. The easy ones are, it's a prank, it's a joke,
Sure.
it's a kid acting out, you know, or it's a hoax. All those are kind of like in the same kind of thing. And then you get into like the more devious stuff where it's like it's a witness who's been duped, and they're like exaggeratingly continuing the story, adding more and more kind of details or fantasticness to it.
Like a kid in a fish story.
Something like this. Then you get into like delusional, like someone that's delusional, or like they're falling for some kind of like a optical illusion or something. And then you get into like neurology or psychology, where you're having like memory lapses, so you think things are moving around on you, you just don't remember picking up the salt and moving it to the kitchen table, then you're like, what the fuck is this salt doing over
Why
here?
did somebody move the salt?
Or like wishful thinking, where you're like, your life is mundane and you wish something wild would happen. And then you get into these ones, unusual air currents that like blow stuff towards you.
Yeah.
Or
Explain that one, Bill Nye. Okay? I want you to come in my room and explain that one. Because you can't.
seismic activity.
Yeah.
You know, like a short little earthquake knocks your mirror or something off. Or this one's my favorite. Well, there's ball lightning, whatever. This one's my favorite one, though. There's this guy who's like, no, this whole area, there's underwater or underground streams over this whole area, and it causes...
Clearly.
it causes the phenomenon, like, because the water is running underneath your house, it tilts your fucking pictures sideways and stuff. You're just like...
I'd be like, write that out on the chalkboard right now.
I do... My doctorate is not I'm not a physical doctorate. Like, I'm not a scientist of any kind of way, but I'm not sure about the underground streams tilting shit around my house.
I mean, unless my floor's separating and water comes in, that makes sense.
And then there's the parapsychologists who say like it's psychokinesis, especially when it's seems like it's attached to a little kid, like them learning to use their powers and they're like acting out. Or
I wish. Could
this
you
is like
imagine?
Carrie or something
I
like
wish
that?
I could be. If I was Carrie, the world would probably not be here.
I'd burn that shit down.
I'll burn everybody down.
Also, the parapsychologists mark it up to like what we would commonly refer to it as is like a mischievous or malicious spirit or ghost. Now, this is one funny fucking thing that I found where this guy named Alan Kardec, he's the official founder of spiritualism, and he says I need to actually read more of this guy's work because I don't understand anything he's fucking talking about.
Is it a comic book?
No. He says, poltergeists are manifestations of disembodied spirits of a low level belonging. I can't read my own notes,
That's
my
okay.
own chicken scratch. Low level belonging to the 6th class of the 3rd order, associated with the elements of fire, water, air, and earth.
Sure.
So, I mean, I don't know how he could decide between the 6th order or the 6th level of the 3rd order or the 2nd level of the 1st order because they're so much alike.
Right.
Subsection A, quotation B.
Yeah. It reminds me of the original Ghostbusters where they're like, according to Tobin's spirit guide, this is clearly a free roaming vapor of class 4. And you're just like...
You're like, what?
Yeah. And then
Explain that to me.
he also associates poltergeist with fire, water, air, and earth. Usually when you get into these mythological beings, they're only associated with like one,
Apparently.
like an element. So I'm like, to me, this is like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like
The band.
The Poltergeist version of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
They just formed a band. And just
And they're
started-
like, do you remember that last September?
they just go around just serenading people with their band.
And opening and closing doors.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And I like just I get that all the disco garb and stuff that they used to wear.
Yeah.
And they used to have the backup dancers that would come out and be like, woo woo woo. You know,
That's the rattling you hear.
it's a whole thing.
So meanwhile, none of this is actually scary. It's just some big crazy mayhem disco going on that we
It's
just
an invisible
that-
disco on the
that
sixth.
John and I clearly just solved. So everybody can go to bed.
It's the disco on the sixth level of the third order.
Apparently.
Everybody.
People are just partying in the afterlife.
So since Alan Kardec could weigh in on his theory here, why don't you? Can you tell another poltergeist story? Another?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like when I talked, I hate to keep referencing this, but when I talked to Sean, like I said, he felt the poltergeist was attached to me. So anytime I was going through like trauma, which let's face it, as a teenager, every day is like a traumatic day. Okay, like if the guy doesn't talk to you in class, you come home and you want to die. So every day is a traumatic day as a teenager. I would come into my room, things would fall. No, I would never see anything, obviously, like fly across the room like they do in the movies, but definitely like weird objects would fall. Like a photo on the wall that was secure would just drop.
That I think is clearly the underwater currents.
Yes, we had plumbing issues, so this podcast is irrelevant because we just clearly had plumbing issues. But that would happen, and none of my pets would ever come in my room.
And that's disappointing.
It's sad because like, I want my dogs.
That's like the coolest thing is to wake up being surrounded by cats all over.
To this day, her dog will not go in her room.
She won't go in my room.
That's
She
wild.
stands there outside and looks at me like
And
Did you ever try like immersion therapy and just try to drag her into your room?
I do, and then she just leaves.
Yeah.
She's just like, no, don't you bring me into this. I feel like I'm in one of those movies where that big demon's standing behind me, and I'm like, la da 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 da, here's my makeup. Meanwhile, like, Captain Demon over here is like following me.
Captain Demon?
Yeah, he's just been hanging out the whole entire time.
with his disco beats.
I love it.
With
Yeah.
his disco beats. But yeah, like I said, I could never get warm in my room. There would always be like electrical surges in my room. I wish I could tell you more exciting things like, yeah, and then my friend levitated and was
Yeah.
like thrown across. No, that never
No,
happened.
that never happened. So what's like the scare? Like, was there like a lot of dread? Like, did you just feel?
Oh, I hated
like,
going to bed every night.
Yeah.
Because every time I would go to bed, the door would just violently shake. And the only time it would stop is like when I would run downstairs, grab one of my parents, make them come upstairs, and wait till I fell asleep. And then once they got in the room, they're like, your door's not shaking. I'm like, okay, cool. So clearly I'm the crazy kid. Thanks.
Do you think that if you did that for long enough, they'd be like, let's switch rooms, kid? Like,
Maybe you shouldn't have the demonic room. Maybe I shouldn't either. It would have not cost as much in therapy later on in life. So, I mean, but... go
did
ahead.
you ever like try to like? Were you ever like, okay, I'm all in. Let me get my Ouija board and we're gonna communicate.
I actually did that at... not in my room, but actually at my aunt's house with a couple of my friends. And it's hard to say, like, when you're 10 or 12 and you're being stupid, because you don't want your memories to get clouded. But I definitely, like, asked the question, like, are you trying to contact me? And, of course, it all moved to yes. Whether that was actually, like, the spirit or us, I mean, who knows? But I got some really weird answers later on about this woman who like passed away in my room, and I don't know if it was her. And then
Is this where you got the story of the lady that passed away in your room, or did that like come with the house? Or
it came with the house, but my parents kept that from me. Thanks.
Oh, that's nice.
That was nice. Well,
A little bit of full
I
disclosure.
hope you're listening. No, that's why I sing in a metal band now and ruin my life. No, but later
You
on,
needed some gypsies to hang out with the realtor to let them know what's up.
bring them on. They're probably hanging out at my house right now.
Do you really like have negative feelings? Because this is like the third time that you were just like, "Brr." Like, do you wish that you didn't have to go through that? Like, you said that it kind of informed you, like,
It did. I think people are going to listen to this and be like, "Oh God," but I think.
Well, I say what you're comfortable with. I'm not trying to needle you into anything.
Yes, you are, John. How dare you give me all these things, and then you're like talking this microphone.
All one of them.
Yes, that's all it takes. But I definitely think it's made me a more open-minded person. I think when people come and talk to me, especially like people who follow the band or just in everyday life, and they talk to me about these circumstances, I'm not one of those naysayers that's like, okay, honey, get your life together.
Get your life. Yeah.
Get your life together. I can actually like empathize and sympathize with them because it's horribly traumatic when you can't explain things. And then when you go to talk to people as a child, they just look at you like, have you ever thought about medication?
Right.
And you're like,
you said earlier, like, Western Psych is just down the road. Like, yeah,
because people don't want to believe things that can't be explained.
Right.
Because then, I think as human beings, we all want control. We like routine, and when something is not in our realm of explanation, that makes people very uncomfortable. So to kind of bring that all in, like, I don't regret it. I'm glad that I went through it because now. I think I'm more open-minded. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean, Spirit, you can come back.
Yeah, right. You're not inviting anybody.
Not inviting you back. We casted you out.
So did you do like a house cleaning?
I did. My grandmother, I found out so many things when she passed away, which it made me sad because I wish she was more open when she was living. She made me this stuff called ghost juice.
It sounds intriguing.
Right? Only my family.
Yeah.
But I would spray it like all along the room, and it was like soap and sage. This concoction she would make for me.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Right? But meanwhile, Grandma didn't tell me this. She's like, here's this water bottle. But meanwhile, it's like all these like crazy ingredients. And I would spray it around my room and like it would subside for a little bit. So like, go Grandma, high five up in heaven.
There's probably some salt in there.
Probably.
Yeah. I was going to volunteer my wife because she does she's a Wiccan and she does like house cleanings and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She's into, crystal and gem stuff. Like she's got literally like thousands of dollars worth of like stones and shit.
Wow.
And when she cleans someone's house, like she'll pick out like how many ever windows you have in your house. She'll pick out that many crystals and she like blesses them and puts them like on all the windows and stuff. And yeah, I've seen her do it. It's pretty amazing.
Wish I knew your wife back in the day.
Yeah, right.
That would have saved me a lot. But that's, I mean, I believe in that stuff because as much as we watch horror movies and like poltergeist movies, there's always a way to, I guess, drive these things away.
Yeah.
You just have to find the right method to drive them away.
Well, the trick is that there's also a way to tempt them and bring them in. And sometimes we're not so conscious of what we do to do that, So
I shouldn't be like, you can come back and hang out anytime.
No,
before I go to bed. No. That's not welcome. Okay.
You'd be like, here, look, there's my new pillowcase. It looks just like a Ouija board. Like, that's a bad
It's just
idea.
like Captain Demon who hangs out near me.
He's going to be like, hey, you gave me a name. You want to hang out? Like,
no, I don't, ever.
I'm swiping left on you, sir. I'm swiping left on you.
You are not on my Tinder. Ever. But I think like I said, with this, whatever she made, it started to eventually go away. And like I said, when there was a negative force that left our house, unfortunately it was a person, when that individual left our house, all that stuff subsided.
Okay.
So sometimes I believe that negative or evil, or however you want to word it, can bring these forces on.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think once that person left the house, a lot of it subsided. Don't get me wrong. There's still an occasional thing in the house where, like my sister, hi, Tess, I'm saying hi to you on the internet. Because she's like, you never recognize me. She'll get freaked out in the house, like being alone. She's, she'll just say, like, sometimes she'll just get a feeling and she'll have to leave. And that... is really unnerving for somebody who's 23 years old who doesn't feel comfortable in their own home.
Yeah.
So I think there's still remnants there, but it wasn't nearly as bad, especially now we're older. And I'm like, you want to do this? Let's go. Come on.
That's a bad invitation.
I know. Captain Demon, that's not an invitation. Okay, thanks.
So I dug up a couple real fun / well, one of them is really fun and one of them is really famous poltergeist incident.
Okay.
And I just thought I'd just tell the story and see what you had.
Take control of your destiny. Understand your past, put your present in context, and know your future with a twist. Check out the designs and watch the videos about Abracast Tarot Card Deck on Abracast.com. When you order a deck, get a free exclusive bonus tarot card. Also, sign into the mailing list to get a free ebook about the Abracast Tarot Card Deck and other bonus content. Visit the storefront on Abracast.com.
Yeah, bye. So I dug up a couple real fun / well, one of them is really fun and one of them is really famous poltergeist incident.
Okay.
And I just thought I'd just tell the story and see what you had to say. The one is we're kind of really infamous. It's the Enfield poltergeist. It's what The Conjuring 2 was.
Okay. I didn't see the movie yet. You're going to ruin it, aren't you?
I'll stop. I'll just move on to the fun one.
No, I'm just kidding.
Stay on this one. I want to hear the fun one.
All right. So in 1977, the single mom, Penny Hodgson, called the police from a rented house. Her complaint was 2 out of the 4 of her kids claimed that the furniture was moving around the whole house. And knocking sounds were heard on the walls. The cop actually claimed to see a chair slide all by itself. So the cop was kind of in on it. He'd be like, "Hey, I did see that fucking chair go."
But don't tell my boss.
Right. And I would actually try to do an English accent, but I'm no good at those, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Afterwards, later claims came in where there was a demonic voice could be heard, different loud noises, rocks and toys were thrown, overturned chairs, and levitating children.
Sounds like a Friday.
Yeah.
Who keeps rocks in their house?
Maybe they were outside. Maybe they had a rock collection, pet rocks. Maybe I'm not exactly. It was the 70s.
That's true. Anything was a go back then.
So afterwards, everyone kind of was just like, they were like, "Whoa, look at this crazy haunted house!" And then like people started like examining the different evidence. They called in a bunch of paranormal investigators who really kind of exasperated the problem instead of help solve it. I think, in my humble opinion, like they found out that the mom had been practicing ventriloquism.
That sounds like a great idea.
Well, so they were like, well, that could be the possible source of the demonic voice. You know, you're using this, and one of the paranormal investigators was like, yeah, like when we could hear the demon voice, like you could even barely see the mom's mouth move. Like that was in like one of the. One of the people said that one of the paranormal investigators said that the tape recorder that they were using jammed in a way that was mechanically impossible. And I'm like, I don't know, it's like a gigantic reel-to-reel. It seems like there's a lot of moving parts. I'm not sure what you could say is mechanically impossible to break, because it's kind of not.
Are you
supposed
being a skeptic,
to.
John?
For this, yeah.
You're like a little bit.
Well, when I get down to the last thing, I'll explain why. So another thing is they had pictures of these kids levitating. Well, it turns out what we think really happened was the paranormal investigators put a camera with an auto timer to take a picture every 15 minutes.
While they were jumping.
And they told the kids to go jump on the bed. So the kids are jumping on the bed, and it's like a law of averages. You'll be able to get a cool levitation picture within half an hour.
Yeah,
and
about that.
The number one reason that I think this one is a hoax is because Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved.
Right.
And they're totally awful at paranormal investigating.
You think? Yeah. Did you pick up on that? No disrespect.
like Ed reminds me of just some guy who walks in the house. He's like, demons
Everywhere.
fucking everywhere.
Where's
Like,
the Bible?
Stop trying to suck my dick, demon. Like,
Did the captain come to your house too?
Cats.
You and I are going to be haunted after this podcast. You do realize that.
that's cool. I got cats. It's fine.
You're
Don't
like,
treat the
it's so
kid
good.
That's what the captain looks for.
Yeah.
He does.
He's just like,
Your heart's spent with Zosia. I'm pretty sure she doesn't have a dick.
okay, now here's my favorite one.
Tell me.
Okay, this one's called The Drummer of Tedsworth.
Okay.
I'm taking you back in the Wayback Machine to 1661.
Woo!
Okay, England. A homeowner brought a lawsuit against an unlicensed vagrant drummer in his neighborhood who was panhandling.
Was that my band?
No, to me, I'm like, it's in my brain. I just think of like Keith Moon, like wandering around this fucking guy's neighborhood, throwing his fucking like TV through the guy's house.
That's good.
Okay, so the guy's name is William Drury. That's
Okay.
the drummer, the unlicensed vagrant drummer. His name is William Drury. Okay, so the homeowner actually won the lawsuit. And I guess, from what I can tell, part of the lawsuit was this guy had to give his fucking drum up. He wasn't allowed to have his drum anymore.
Sounds like every rock band ever. Just,
This is like, you didn't pay your
And drum.
tab. I'm keeping your fucking trap set. And you're never going to play in this town again.
okay, fine. I'll go to the next one.
So the bailiff gave the homeowner this vagrant drummer's drum to keep as a trophy, I guess. So he's like, he hangs it above his like mantle place. I don't know. I made
like
that
a
part
prize
up. Yeah, like I don't know what he's doing with the drum.
I didn't realize that we mounted drums.
Apparently, we do now.
Animals, yes, but drums.
Okay, so afterwards, guess what? The homeowner's house gets plagued by what's described as a nocturnal drum sounds. And they were sure that the drummer had brought this, what is described, plague of noise down upon this guy's head with the power of witchcraft. As the drummer was known to hang out with who? Fucking gypsies.
You brought them back this time, John. I just want you to know that.
That's why I kept cracking up, because I'm like, it's going to come up again.
It's gonna come up.
So this happened, and then like after this guy, the guy who brought the homeowner, he got rid of the house, or he died, or whatever. And
Did you just say re-died?
no, I think he just died.
He re-died.
He re-died.
And then he came back.
He died. He came back. He re-died.
We are talking about poltergeist. I just wanted to make sure.
So throughout the centuries, every once in a while, someone else would report these fucking phantom drumming sounds. And in 1841, there's this guy who sounds like he would be hilarious to drink with. And his name is Charles Mackay, and he wrote this book called Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds.
Buy him a drink. Buy him a drink.
Why are we not friends with this guy?
I'm like, I need to hang out with this dude because he's
Tomorrow.
so he says he investigates the phantom drumming noises, and he says the phenomenon was undoubtedly fraudulent, produced by friends of the drummer. And he deduced that the homeowner was a fool and easily fooled. Or sorry, he was a fool and he was easily deceived.
And delusional.
So he could look past the 200 years since like it originally happened to when this guy's writing this book, which again is called The Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. And he was able to tell that this cranky homeowner that didn't like Keith Moon banging around his fucking neighborhood was a fool and easily deceived.
You are dumb, sir. Go home.
He was just like, and you're kind of retarded. Like,
I would have loved to have been in that room.
I just imagine this guy with like a pen and ink and like this big quill, and he's just like,
You are
this
dumb.
guy's what an idiot to believe in this.
He's challenged. He's so challenged. I meant that in the nicest way possible. That was good. I like that.
I like that second one is my faves.
Yeah.
I really
That's
dig
definitely
it.
like beer drinking campfire story
Yeah.
worthy.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up.
Okay.
Why don't you throw out some links and where we can hear? Like, why don't you got your Reverb Nation?
Yes. www.reverbnation.com/echoesneverlie. www.facebook.com/echoesneverlie. Actually, if you just Google search us,
Yeah,
we should
you're pretty
probably
easy.
just...
You're pretty easy to find.
Oh, come on. John's like, I know this for a fact.
Yeah,
I just Googled
I've been
you.
stalking you all day. You know what? Oh, sorry, show prep. I've been show prepping
There's
all
a
day.
fee for that.
Are you on the Twitter?
We are, but we really honestly don't use it very much. We just don't find that it's very interactive. I feel like Facebook's
The way to go.
Yeah,
for you.
Facebook's way much better for us. Reverb Nation, or like Facebook Messenger.
Hey, yeah, that's tried and true method.
It's so true.
Yeah, networking right there. At
The
its
Phantom
best.
will tell you the phone is glued to my head. Or not, or he won't tell you. 'Cause
It seems like he had a lot of fun sitting there in the shadows.
he did. He enjoyed it. You're gonna have to do some special like vocal effects on
Yeah, I'm gonna like add like some kind of ghosty
thing on him.
That was weak, man.
It's okay.
Jesus.
Sit down and bleed. The surface crack, the skies are gray. We believe in everyone has a say. And in our heart, night we don't care. Never saw it coming ever so fast.
Do you have any parting words? You want to get anything else out there?
No, I mean, I just wanted to thank you for meeting me on the internet and bringing me to your studio.
I had a blast.
I
This
know.
is so much fun.
We should
So-
do this like many times.
How many tattoos do you have?
Too many. No,
Yeah. Well, you just got one yesterday.
I did. Well, there are 85,000. No, actually, it's a continuation of my sleeve.
Where do you go? Do you want to plug your guy?
Hi, Russ. How are you?
All right.
Give me a discount, you bastard. No, it's called Hybrid Tattoo in Penn Hills. Russell Corbett does all my work. He's been doing my work for years, and
Phenomenal.
yeah, he's a really talented artist, and he's local, so
Yeah.
which is nice in the Pittsburgh area. And he's a nice guy. He's not one of those like, well, I'm an artist, so you better write me an essay and tell me what this piece means to you. He's just really down
I
to
hope to
earth.
God you've never had to deal with someone like that.
I've known people in the Pittsburgh area. I won't mention names because I don't believe in being negative that way. But there's some artists that want you to basically write your life story about
The worst that I ever had is I was getting my E tattooed. I was getting my E tattooed, and I went to my guy. I don't have a guy. I have a place, like whoever, or whatever. I don't care.
There's a place.
And I took the design to them, and they were like, "Okay, well, let us schedule an appointment, and you come back or whatever." So I went back at my appointed time, and they had taken my E and they tricked it out and like made it into like fire and horns and shit. And I'm like, no,
Like,
no,
no.
this is a
This
fucking
is-
personal
yeah,
thing. Like, I'm not
this is
asking
simple.
you to fucking do it. It's a fucking E. That's all you got to do. Just
Do you remember
an E in a
like Pimp
fucking
My
circle.
Ride? It was like Pimp Your Tattoo.
Yeah, right.
They totally like.
They're like, no, dude, it's got antlers now. It's fucking like golden
No.
rims, and I'm like, no,
No.
that doesn't
No.
make any fucking
Just
sense.
the fifth letter of the alphabet. That's it.
That's all we really need here. Yeah, it's hard because like I think with tattooing, like there's artistic integrity, and you want like some of my artists came up with like the background
Yeah.
of the piece, but the piece actually, believe it or not, means something. I didn't wake up and was like, I want a bunch of demonic crap on my
Yeah.
body.
And you're like, it looks like you have like a Terminator hinge in there.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Well, when I was sick a while back, and they started giving me a nickname when I would go in for treatments, and they would call me like the Bionic Woman.
Okay.
So that inspired the gears and everything, but I left it up to him where he wanted to place it and
Yeah.
everything like that. So, you know, it meant something to me, but it's kind of awkward when you're like a female and you have all this like skulls and like these torn out things, and you know, people aren't exactly like, well, I really want to take you home to my mom. You know, you seem really well
He's
adjusted.
like, do you have any long sleeve shirts?
Could you just cover up your whole body? That would be great.
I do.
but basically, I've been very lucky. Like, I found a job. The guy that I work for he's very accepting, and
it's only a matter of time before all that.
Yeah,
tumbles down.
you better get on the bandwagon, man. I mean, tattoos are here to stay.
Once McDonald's was like, I don't care if you got shit hanging out of your face. Like,
just give me my fries.
Yeah, that's
It's why they're making $15 an hour.
Well, don't get me started.
You don't want to go on a tirade about that?
No,
Okay.
no. So, do you mind if I drop these two songs? That's
Not at all.
in the episode. Okay,
Not at
cool.
all.
Well, then you guys would have already heard these songs, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming down, both you guys. I had a blast.
I
hanging
did
out with
too.
you.
We
Yeah,
should
it was
do
a really
this
good
all the
time.
time.
Yeah, thank you. You're like every day.
Every
right?
day, just give me beer.
So, thanks again, and
You're welcome.
look out for the new album.
Yes.
Currently untitled.
Untitled.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds mysterious. Maybe we should just do that.
Just do self-titled.
We'll be a symbol, but but then we'll be like a number, and then we'll be like a roadmap.
Okay. Just do like a line of emojis.
Yeah, we'll just be like emojis. I'm trying to be new and innovative with the kids.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's like hashtag thumbs down. No, thumbs up.
With
the
a
nose.
halo,
Yeah.
happy face.
Just keep the poop one out of there.
Yeah,
You
we
just-
Devil horns.
devil horns, all that. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you for listening, and we hope that you enjoyed the show. Please send an email or find us on social media and let us know what you think about the show. We would appreciate it if you would give us a 5-star rate and review wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can find Stigmata Studios, graphic, novels, and comic books at Abracast.com.